Veronica Furukawa, and this is my final project, Non-Player Character Conversational Agents. The main goal of this project was to increase immersion in virtual reality using natural speech patterns to interact with non-player characters. In virtual reality, interacting with non-player characters is a challenge. The traditional way of interaction, using dialogue boxes, does not translate well to this environment. To increase immersion, I wanted to explore one of our main modes of interacting with others, through speech. While this most definitely increases player experience, it also has many challenges which will be discussed further in this demonstration. My secondary goal was to integrate Watson IBM into this project to handle the artificial intelligence. Unfortunately, this was not an appropriate API to integrate into a Unity project, and I eventually had to scrap that idea. I eventually had to build out what IBM Watson would have done for me, which was namely the speech-to-text agent, conversational agent, artificial intelligence, and the text-to-speech models. The first part of this demo is simply the scene setup and what I used. I chose to use Oculus since it had an embedded microphone and speakers, but also because I already had one. I've listed all of the SDKs that I used. Thankfully, Oculus already has a very good selection of SDKs. After getting very sick the first run-throughs of the scene, I chose to go with the teleportation method of transport. While I don't enjoy this method of locomotion, I feel it is pretty wonky to use actually, but it does keep me from getting sick. Getting the Oculus App Tower up and running, and we had a little bit of motion sickness last time, so I added a little teleport system. It helps. Some objects, go ahead and set them down, pick them up, throw them if you want to. I probably will use a right turn for head motions, and I'm off and on about keeping the same height. Right now I can go on top of stuff like boulders. Not sure if that's exactly what I want. Box, I can feel these are going to be collectible items, little treasure chests. You can pick them up, and you can teleport with them into our dragon somewhere. Right now I can kind of just go wherever I want. So if you feel like exploring, you can. So what is IBM's Watson? Watson is an API produced by the masterminds over at IBM. I've seen some very interesting chatbots and handling of artificial intelligence through Watson. Watson works by passing JSON through different services, and they have APIs for Unity, Node, Python, and Java. The new Star Trek VR game that everyone's talking about, it implements the speech-to-text service that directs the ship's computer. The IBM Conversational Agent is based on artificial intelligence, and you can build out different conversational cues for the agent to pick up on. The real winner with Watson, as opposed to Alexa, is that Watson allows for more natural speech patterns. The reason why I chose this service is because natural speech and accents are actually accounted for. It also understands multiple pronouns or the topic discussed previous to the last question. But I did not know going into it that making a speech chatbot would involve using 3 different services and passing information from one service to another. Creating a conversational agent that responds via speech actually involves 3 different Watson services. The user speaks, the speech-to-text agent then converts the user's audio into text. The text is then passed as a variable to the Watson conversational agent. The conversational agent then passes the JSON file back, and an appropriate response is returned as another variable. Then the new variable is sent to the text-to-speech agent, which then converts it into speech. The whole process is very messy. In this mini demo, you can see the speech-to-text agent pick up my voice, convert it to text, and the debug log is outputting the JSON being passed back. After this point in my project, and seeing the lag, I decided to scrap the whole integration and start again. Where am I? My findings. In my initial report, the professor had mentioned that his concerns were the lag time involved, and he was correct. Between all of the API calls and serializing the returned JSON files, only halfway through my integration, I could see this was going to be an issue. You cannot control the returned JSON file, which means that if there are multiple returned responses available, parsing the JSON and outputting just breaks the program. Also, IBM returns the full JSON file, returning every possible outcome along with extraneous information. While a coroutine could be used to handle this API call to make it a bit smoother, it still does not let you reformat the returned information. The support for the Unity SDK was almost non-existent, and the learning curve was very steep. After the SDK was imported, you still needed to write out many new C# scripts to handle and return values. The SDK was very, very heavy, and most of it seemed to just be bloat. While trying to build out the project, the SDK threw multiple errors, not letting me build. It seems the SDK for Unity isn't maintained for each Unity version. I signed up for the light version, allowing 100 hours for each service, but after only 2 days of development, I had reached my 100-hour limit. This math does not make sense to me, and upgrading would have cost a bundle with their unusual math system. So, since the IBM integration was a flop, what now? After researching, I found that Unity had a native speech engine that works for Windows 10. Using that as a speech-to-text engine, I then built out the beta artificial intelligence. While the speech engine can convert any speech into text, I just chose a small sample of words and built out responses for each of these questions. Doing it this way would allow me to add animations and moods for the different responses. I used LipSync Pro to lip-sync the characters, but unfortunately it only seemed to want to work on runtime. Here's the final beta demo of my project. Hello.
Heel and Maddie met Traveler.
Where am I?
You are in the village of Tyr, or what is left of it anyhow.
How did I get here?
Your ship has crashed upon our shores.
Was anyone else with me?
Just you. There were no others.
Where is everyone else?
Most here have fallen victim to the plague.
Is the plague still here? Is the plague still here?
It has passed, moving north, leaving nothing but death and fear behind.
Is there a town nearby?
It is just over those mountains.
How do I get to the town?
You will be needing a sword if you are planning to wander these lands.
How can I find a sword?
My supplies are hidden in multiple locations for safekeeping. If you could acquire the 3 chests in which my materials are held, I will forge you a weapon.
Where's the chest?
Is there not a crate by the door behind you?
Where is the other chest?
There should be a crate by the docks.
Moving forward, I would want to make the non-player character lip sync the returned audio. And hopefully a patch for LipSync Pro would be released soon to allow for this. I would also like to animate him in response to the different responses. I would like to create a larger working artificial intelligence base so it isn't limited in responses or questions you could ask. I would also like to work out the audio listeners and audio sources to be more spatially responsive. This would allow for a higher degree of realism and also allow for multiple NPCs